Şu an İngilizce kanaldan konuşuyorum. Tamam. İsterseniz bir de Türkçeyi test etsin Musab Bey.
Tamam.
Deneyelim mi?
Türkçe
Tamam.
tamam. İngilizce yani
Tamam. Şimdi İngilizce kanaldan konuşuyorum. Sorun yok. Tamam. Sağ olun.
Pazartesi, salı, çarşamba, perşembe, cuma, pazartesi, salı, 1, 2, 3, 4.
In the name of Allah, peace and blessing of Allah be upon you. In the outset, I would like to welcome my brother, His Excellency Mr. Hakan Fidan, the Foreign Minister of Turkey in his second country in Qatar, and we appreciate his visit, which reflects the depth of relation between both countries and the strategic partnership that we have built over decades. This visit comes in light of unprecedented escalation that the region is going through and continuing Iranian attack on the neighboring country. Unfortunately, during the the war between Iran, the USA, and Israel, and also the Iranian continuous attempts to drag the region into this confrontation. We have confirmed in our meeting to the importance of joint work amongst our countries in order to condemn this aggression and demand stopping it immediately, and to implement the relevant Security Council resolutions which demand Iran clearly to stop those attacks, and this approach to expand the conflict to the region. And also we condemn with the hardest term the attacks on the Republic of Turkey by Iran, and we confirm that this continuous targeting and expansion of the conflict will not serve the safety and the security of the region. In addition to that, we has discussed the attack of yesterday at the energy complex at Ras Laffan. Unfortunately, this sabotage act only indicates an aggression policy and lack of responsibility, and a very dangerous escalation by the Iranians against the state of Qatar. Qatar, since the beginning, after the attack of energy sector by Israel. We have condemned that attack, and the Iranian retaliation on this Israeli attack was to directly attack the state of Qatar. Of course, those attacks are a series of attacks which included civilian and military targets over the last 2 weeks, and the recent attack was at Ras Laffan industrial complex, and thanks to Allah that there were no casualties, and everyone is working in order to estimate the damages. However, this attack will have huge repercussions on oil or energy supplies around the world. Such attack does not bring any benefit to any country. However, it brings harms and damage to the nations and impact them and affect them directly. Unfortunately, there are some Iranian claims, ongoing claims or continuous claims, that those attacks are on American assets and interest and American bases in the state of Qatar and in the countries of the region, and this claim is rejected and cannot be accepted under any excuse. And the biggest evidence on that, the attack of yesterday, which was against an natural gas facility which consider the source of living for the Qatari people, and yesterday also that had affected millions of the people who are helped by the state of Qatar. Such aggression and the continuation of this aggression and also expanding the war will not lead only for more instability in the region, and the state of Qatar will always call for diplomacy and dialogue and go back to wisdom. However, unfortunately, it seems that the wisdom is missing those days. And this is something also we have witnessed in disrupting the maritime navigation and hindering the trade in a very critical water passageway like Hormuz. We confirm that the security of the region is a collective responsibility, and it is a must that all the countries are committed and uphold this responsibility. And also would like to confirm the importance of an immediate stop of those attacks of Iran on the region and de-escalate so that this region will not get into more turmoil. Your Excellency, the Minister, I would like to emphasize the importance of a continuous consultation with you, and would like to thank you for supporting us and supporting Qatar all the time, and also the stability and safety in the region and the world. Turkey has strong position with the state of Qatar, and we in the state of Qatar, people and government, we appreciate those positions and this support by Turkey. And at the end, I would like just to say that this war need to stop immediately. The aggression need to stop immediately, because everyone knows who is the big beneficiary of this war and dragging the whole region into this conflict. And unfortunately, what's taking place now, it's a serve for those agendas. Thank you very much.
Değerli basın mensupları,
Distinguished members of the press, as you know, we are now experiencing extraordinary days. And during these extraordinary days, in order to show our solidarity with Qatar, today we are here in Qatar together with our delegation. Despite his busy agenda, he has shown us great hospitality, and for that I'd like to thank my dear brother and the Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mohammed bin Abdulrahman. So I'd like to thank him very much. Indeed, he has always welcomed us very well. He is a very valuable person for Qatar and the region, and he has been very humble so far, and he has taken so many mediator roles, and some of them are well known by the public, some of them are not known by the public, but for the region and for global peace, he's always putting an effort, and I would like to wholeheartedly congratulate him once again. But right now, this time, when they were again mediating, they were subjected to an attack which was not deserved at all, and this attack is still ongoing. Before all, I would like to bring the get well wishes of the Turkish nation and our president to our Qatari brothers and sisters. We condemn and denounce the attacks that disregard the lives of civilians and target civilian infrastructure. These attacks can never and for no reason be legitimized. Turkey always stands by the brotherly nation of Qatar and will always continue to stand by Qatar. Dear colleagues, the ongoing war is directly threatening the security of all our brothers and sisters in the region and deeply disrupts the peace and tranquility. Within the framework of our solidarity with the countries of the region, as you know, yesterday we were in Riyadh. We went there upon the invitation of Saudi Arabia. Since the start of the war, this was the first time that we got together under this format, and it was a meeting that was really needed. And during the meeting, we have affirmed in the strongest terms possible that we are in full solidarity with the brotherly countries which are the targets of the attacks. And during our consultations in Riyadh, we have also agreed to undertake joint efforts in line with the targets of immediate cessation of the attacks and ensuring ceasefire, preventing the spread of conflicts, and bringing the crisis to a resolution through diplomatic methods. It should be expressly indicated that the primary responsible party for this war that has drawn our region to an unprecedented crisis is Israel. In an era when the diplomatic negotiations are ongoing, these attacks have started with the provocations of Israel and expanded in terms of their targets, did not only turn our region into a massive war zone, but also staggered global stability. In this sensitive conjuncture, we need to also openly remind Iran's historical responsibility as well. Regardless of the reason, Iran's attacks on the countries of the region targets the foundations of regional stability and are of unacceptable quality. So this does not work for Iran, and this does not work for the other countries as well. Just as the attacks on Iran are wrong, the attacks of Iran on other countries of the region are also wrong. So we are very clearly expressing to our Iranian interlocutors at our contacts at every level that these attacks that may cause some permanent rifts that are difficult to repair among the regional countries should be immediately stopped, as well as de-escalation as well. And we also emphasize that any attacks that may threaten navigation and maritime security should be refrained as well. So our attitude in the face of this crisis is very evident. We reject all kinds of actions that target regional geographies, and we think that the Israel's attempts to whitewash their own crimes and their expansionist occupying policies under the guise of this regional conflict that has been created should never be allowed. We are in agreement with the brotherly Qatar that the channels for dialogue should be kept open for the establishment of peace, and the concerns of the parties should be addressed within the grounds of negotiation. On the other hand, we also attract attention to the fact that the war should not distract the attention of international community from Palestine and the tragedy in Gaza. Israel continues recklessly its ceasefire violations, using the opportunity of this created chaos. The situation on the ground still maintains its gravity, and around 700 Palestinian brothers and sisters have been martyred since the date of the ceasefire. Every day we receive news of martyrs from the West Bank. And in Eastern Jerusalem, starting with the Al-Aqsa Mosque, we strongly condemn the Israeli actions towards restricting entry to sacred sites and towards disrupting historical status quo. Israel also started implementing its occupation and destruction policy in Lebanon, as well as they did in Gaza. The international community should block Israel's expansionism and should assume the required responsibility against these opportunistic policies of Israel based on fait accompli. And the only key to establish true and sustainable security in the region is to establish a just and dignified peace with the Palestinian people. Turkey and Qatar has always been two brotherly countries that have overcome these hard challenges with unwavering solidarity and has put forward a very strong joint will every time. And we have agreed to further carry our relations on the basis of new and concrete steps, especially in the field of defense industry. With these thoughts, I thank my esteemed brother once again, and I wish for our talks and Eid al-Fitr to bring auspicious outcomes to all of the region.
Now we'll open the floor for Q&A. Al Jazeera channel. Hassan Masoud from Al Jazeera. In the outset, are there any space remaining for diplomacy to put an end to what's taking place, and who is benefiting in specific from this escalation by Iran against the countries in the region? And other question for His Excellency, the Minister, what is the role that Turkey can play now to prevent the repetition of those attacks against countries like Qatar and the neighboring countries in their communication with the Iran, and also what the joint role that both Qatar and Turkey can play? And Turkey is well known with their mediation and diplomacy in order to de-escalate the situation. Concerning the diplomacy, there's always a space for diplomacy, and the state of Qatar has always believed in diplomacy as the first and the last solution for any conflict. And the state of Qatar has sought with along with the countries in the region, including Turkey, to stop this or to prevent this war that have launched against Iran. However, that diplomacy we witnessed in return an attack against our countries. As I have said earlier, for us, the shock was huge because we became the target in the region since the beginning of the war, since the early hours. And that posed many questions for us as a neighboring country, for a country that has always had good neighboring as a policy, and to have a good relationship with our neighboring and to work together in order to create safety and peace and safety in the region. However, what Iran has committed is only destabilize the whole region and all the countries. Yesterday we met and we said with one voice that we denounce this attack, and this attack need to stop, and and diplomacy need also to be based on the mutual respect and non-aggression, and there should be a rebuild for the trust, a trust that unfortunately has been destroyed with this aggression. We know that at the end we share the same geography, and we have also a history with the Iranian people, and we don't want to see such hard feelings between the Iranian and the Qataris and the Iranian and the nations of the people. We want our people to live in peace and to avoid the repercussions of those unresponsible decisions that drag the whole region into a spiral. Exiting it will be very difficult. So those who benefit from this war, everyone knows. First, there's a war that is started by Israel, and Iran chose to attack their neighbors as a response or retaliation for this war. So I think that is the big beneficiary is everyone who seeks to destabilize the stability of this region.
Daha önce de ifade
As I have expressed before, Turkey, for the war to stop, is continuing to do what Turkey can, starting with His Excellency our President and ourselves. Before the war in the region can evolve to a worse situation, we are in search for a way to stop it. Before the war started, as you know, our president had some initiatives in this direction, and together with my brother, here we were in a situation to undertake joint initiatives as well. But however, unfortunately, the war could not be prevented, and it happened. And now, how can we prevent the war from going worse, and how can we stop? We are speaking to the Americans and Iranians as well. First of all, we try to understand where they stand, and under the current situations, how can we prevent it from the war going worse? And we are in search of that, while our contacts are ongoing, starting with Qatar, with our brothers who are also in search of similar options. We are in intense talks. First, we see the following, not only in the region, in Asia, in Europe, in the north, in the south. Almost all the world wants the war to end. And just as the Palestinian state being recognized as a state, there is an immense amount of agreement. So how can we transform this agreement into action? What kind of steps can be taken under these conditions? This is what we are in search for currently. On the other hand, of course, when speaking to Iran, we try to ensure that the war does not become widespread. Iran is being hit themselves, but there's nothing that would justify their attack to the countries of the region. This further enhances division, spreads war, and deepens crisis. And as a responsible nation state, we are always giving the friendliest advice to Iran, both for the interest of Iran and the region as well. And we will continue to do so. As you know, the conditions are difficult right now, but the best solutions may emerge under the most difficult of conditions. Hopefully, what falls on us, we will continue to work on it together with my brother.
The second question for Turkey.
İki sorum var.
I have two questions. The first question to the Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs. Sir, yesterday, your gas fields have been attacked. What is the current situation, the latest situation? What is the dimension of the damage? And in the upcoming period, if these attacks continue in an aggravated way, what will be the position of Qatar? And were you able to hold any talks with Iranian sides in the last hours? And Qatar as a negotiator, has a certain position. And in the upcoming process, will this position change, or what kind of a strategy will you be following? Distinguished Minister, yesterday in Riyadh, you participated in a very significant meeting, and there was a very significant statement in the end, and very important points have been addressed, and Israel's expansionist policy has been in particular underlined. What are your remarks about the meeting, and how do you consider the war and the course of war? Where will this process be evolving to? How is it important for Turkey? And yesterday evening you held a phone call with Arakci. Especially that was during the talks in Riyadh, and Riyadh was also attacked at the time. And if you could hear your comments, please.
Concerning the attack yesterday on the gas facility, thanks to Allah, yesterday we have intercepted big part of this attack, but unfortunately part of the facilities have been hit, and now we are assessing the damages. We thank Allah that there were no human casualties, and that's because we were successful by taking the precautionary actions. Since the first attack against Ras Laffan facility, which was the second day of the war, which also clarified that Iran's excuse is untrue, because they have targeted critical infrastructure since the second day, and we have evacuated the venue, and that helped avoiding any human casualties. Regarding the damages that we are evaluating, those damages, it can be recompensated unlike the humans, but our message is that targeting such a facility, and as I have said, that it's the main income of the Qatari people, and also one of the major income of or backbone of the Qatari economy, and we also help many people around the poor who are in distress. So we hope that the Republic of Iran understand that they are the one who deprived those poor people from the support that we provide. Now, regarding the state of Qatar and how it dealt with that situation, we maintain all our rights, preserve all rights to respond to this attack with the legal pathways, and for all those actions they will be cost and as per the international law.
Değerli arkadaşlar,
dear friends, the meeting that was held yesterday evening in Riyadh was a meeting that had a single agenda item, and we went there upon the invitation of Saudi Arabia as 12 countries. We were there, and all the countries of the region that were directly or indirectly affected by the war were around the table. Of course, the single agenda item was how to stop the attacks of Iran towards the region and what kind of measures should be taken. And the countries that are directly and intensely being subject to attacks were seeking advice from brotherly countries such as ourselves. So it lasted a long time. We were trying to find common wisdom, and everyone presented and addressed the urgency of the situation. Of course, the attacks that are happening, because we are not experiencing them with that kind of intensity, we do not have the chance to feel them closely. But as we listened to our interlocutors, we have listened to the situation of hundreds of missiles being sent at the same time and not being able to continue normal life under normal conditions is forcing the countries to take certain measures. So those were discussed, and of course the discussions were around the single agenda item. Yesterday evening, before the meeting started, when we were having the bilateral meeting with my Pakistani brother, Abbas Arakchi called, and we also spoke to him. And actually, there was this following dialogue. So you are calling us now, and missiles are coming up from the sky. There were missiles intercepted in Riyadh, and why don't you not send missiles to Riyadh when the meeting was ongoing? So they, according to their own opinion, want their own diplomatic positions to be taken into account under certain conditions. So you know our position. We have given them the response accordingly. We do not consider the attacks towards them to be justified, but we also do not think their attacks to the countries of the region justified. One mistake should not lead to other mistakes. Iran actually should not have preferred the path of spreading the conflict in this way. Our work will continue in this way. I thank you once again for your attention.
By this, we conclude our press conference for today. We would like to thank His Excellency, the Prime Minister, and the Turkish Prime Minister,